Listen to me right now. I want you to stop what you're doing and really hear what I'm about to tell you. There's a conversation we need to have, and it might be the most important conversation of your life. It's about something that's destroying your future before you even realize it's happening. It's about the invisible chains that keep you trapped in cycles of mediocrity, pain, and unfulfilled potential. It's about why you must never, ever go back to old relationships. I see you there thinking about that person. You know exactly who I'm talking about. That ex who keeps texting you late at night. That friend who drained your energy for years. That toxic family member who makes you feel small every time you're in their presence. That romantic partner who broke your heart but keeps showing up in your thoughts like a ghost you can't shake. You're thinking about giving them another chance, aren't you? You're considering opening that door one more time because part of you believes things could be different this time. Stop right there. I need you to understand something fundamental about human psychology and the nature of change. When you go back to old relationships, you're not just reconnecting with a person. You're stepping back into an old version of yourself. You're activating neural pathways that were carved deep during times when you were smaller, weaker, less aware, and operating from a place of scarcity rather than abundance. Every relationship creates a specific energetic signature, a unique frequency that your nervous system remembers. When you re-enter that relationship, your body immediately begins to match that old frequency, and suddenly you find yourself behaving in ways you thought you had outgrown. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how you become a different person around certain people? How your confidence shrinks around that one family member? How your standards drop when that particular ex comes calling? How your boundaries dissolve when that manipulative friend reaches out? This isn't weakness on your part. This is your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do, matching the environment you're in. But here's what most people don't understand. When you've grown, when you've evolved, when you've done the work to become a better version of yourself, going back to old relationships is like trying to fit into clothes that are 3 sizes too small. It's uncomfortable, it's restrictive, and it will eventually tear apart everything you've built. I want you to understand the science behind this. Your brain creates something called procedural memory around relationships. These are automatic response patterns that get triggered without your conscious awareness. When you were in that toxic relationship, your brain learned specific survival strategies. Maybe you learned to walk on eggshells to avoid conflict. Maybe you learned to suppress your needs to keep the peace. Maybe you learned to accept breadcrumbs of affection because you believed that's all you deserved. These patterns don't just disappear because you've grown as a person. They remain dormant, waiting to be reactivated the moment you step back into that familiar dynamic. This is why you can be strong, confident, and clear about your boundaries in every other area of your life. But the moment that specific person shows up, you find yourself reverting to old behaviors. You start making excuses for their actions. You begin to minimize their impact on your well-being. You convince yourself that maybe you were too harsh, too demanding, too sensitive. You start to believe their promises of change without requiring any evidence of that change. This isn't love. This isn't forgiveness. This is trauma bonding disguised as compassion. Let me tell you something that might be hard to hear, but it's the truth you need to understand. When someone shows you who they are repeatedly, they're not confused about their identity. They're not going through a phase. They're not temporarily lost. They are showing you their authentic self, and your job is to believe them the first time. The person who cheated on you knew what they were doing when they chose to betray your trust. The friend who constantly made you feel inferior knew exactly how their words affected you. The family member who consistently boundary violated your emotional space was fully aware of the impact of their behavior. But here's where it gets tricky. These people often come back into your life during moments when you're feeling vulnerable, uncertain, or lonely. They have an uncanny ability to sense when your defenses are down, when you're questioning your own worth, when you're feeling disconnected from your current reality. They show up with apologies that sound sincere, with promises that feel real, with explanations that seem to make sense. They know exactly which buttons to push because they installed those buttons in the first place. I need you to recognize this pattern for what it is. It's not coincidence. It's not fate. It's not the universe giving you a second chance at love. It's predatory behavior disguised as romance, friendship, or family obligation. People who truly respect you, who truly care about your well-being, don't wait until you're vulnerable to make your grand reappearance. They don't use your loneliness as an opportunity to slide back into your life. They don't exploit your capacity for forgiveness as a way to regain access to your energy, your attention, your resources, or your body. Real love, real friendship, real healthy family dynamics don't require you to lower your standards, compromise your boundaries, or dim your light to accommodate someone else's inability to grow. Healthy relationships elevate you. They inspire you to become the best version of yourself. They challenge you in ways that promote growth, not in ways that create anxiety, confusion, or self-doubt. When you're in a truly healthy relationship, you don't have to constantly question where you stand. You don't have to decipher mixed signals or make excuses for inconsistent behavior. But I understand why going back feels tempting. There's something seductive about familiar pain. Your nervous system actually finds comfort in predictable dysfunction because at least it knows what to expect. The unknown territory of healthy relationships can feel scary because it requires you to show up differently. It demands that you maintain your standards even when it's inconvenient. It asks you to trust your intuition even when others question your choices. It requires you to believe that you deserve better even when everyone around you suggests you should be grateful for whatever attention you can get. This is where most people get stuck. They've done enough personal development work to recognize toxic behavior, but they haven't done enough to trust their own judgment completely. They can see the red flags, but they still doubt whether they're being too picky, too harsh, too unforgiving. They know they deserve better intellectually, but emotionally, they're still operating from old programming that tells them they should be grateful for scraps of affection from people who have consistently shown them disrespect. And let me be crystal clear about something. Forgiveness does not require reconciliation. You can't forgive someone for your own peace of mind without allowing them back into your life. Forgiveness is about releasing the emotional charge around past hurts so that you can move forward freely. It's not about giving someone unlimited chances to hurt you again. It's not about pretending that harmful behavior didn't happen. It's not about making yourself available for future harm in the name of being spiritual, evolved, or compassionate. True forgiveness actually requires strong boundaries. It says, I forgive you for what you did, and I'm choosing to learn from this experience and protect myself from experiencing it again. It says, I release you from my anger, and I also release myself from the obligation to remain connected to you. It says, I wish you well from a distance, and I'm committed to creating space in my life only for people who can match my energy, respect my boundaries, and contribute positively to my growth. I want you to think about the cost of going back. Not just the obvious costs like heartbreak, disappointment, or wasted time. I'm talking about the hidden costs that most people never calculate. Every time you go back to a relationship that doesn't serve you, you're sending a message to the universe about what you believe you deserve. You're programming your subconscious mind to accept less than you're worth. You're training other people in your life about how they can treat you. You're modeling for any children in your life what love and respect look like. But the most devastating cost is the opportunity cost. Every moment you spend trying to resurrect a dead relationship is a moment you're not available for the alive relationships that are trying to find you. Every bit of energy you invest in someone who has repeatedly shown you they're not capable of meeting your needs is energy you're not investing in your own growth, your own dreams, your own magnificent future. Every time you choose the familiar dysfunction over the unknown possibility, you're choosing to stay small instead of expanding into who you're becoming. I need you to understand that there are people in this world who will love you the way you deserve to be loved. There are people who will respect your boundaries naturally because they have healthy boundaries themselves. There are people who will communicate clearly because they want to build something beautiful with you, not because you had to beg them to treat you with basic decency. There are people who will show up consistently because they understand that consistency is the foundation of trust, not because you had to explain to them why reliability matters. But you will never meet these people if you keep your energy tied up in relationships that drain you. You will never be available for the love you deserve if you keep settling for the love you've accepted in the past. The universe cannot deliver your perfect match to you if you're still holding space for someone who has proven they're not capable of being that person for you. This is about more than just romantic relationships. This applies to friendships that leave you feeling exhausted rather than energized. It applies to family dynamics that make you feel guilty for having boundaries rather than proud of your growth. It applies to professional relationships that undervalue your contributions and take advantage of your dedication. It applies to any dynamic in your life where you find yourself constantly giving more than you receive, constantly making excuses for other people's behavior, constantly hoping that people will change rather than accepting who they've shown themselves to be. I want you to imagine your life 1 year from now. Imagine what becomes possible when you stop investing your precious life force energy into relationships that diminish you. Imagine how much creative energy you'll have available when you're not constantly managing other people's emotions or trying to fix their problems. Imagine how confident you'll feel when you're surrounded by people who see your worth and treat you accordingly. Imagine how peaceful your nervous system will be when you're not constantly bracing for the next disappointment, the next boundary violation, the next reminder that you're not valued the way you should be. Now imagine the alternative. Imagine where you'll be 1 year from now if you keep going back to the same wells that have consistently left you thirsty. Imagine how you'll feel if you keep choosing familiar dysfunction over unknown possibility. Imagine the regret you'll carry if you keep accepting scraps when you could be building something magnificent with someone who truly appreciates what you bring to the table. The choice is yours, but I need you to choose consciously. I need you to stop making decisions based on fear, loneliness, or scarcity. I need you to start making decisions based on the vision you have for your life, the standards you've set for yourself, and the respect you've learned to demand. I need you to understand that every time you choose yourself, every time you honor your boundaries, every time you walk away from something that doesn't serve you, you're creating space for something that will. Here's what I know about human potential. You are capable of creating relationships that feel like coming home to yourself rather than losing yourself. You are capable of attracting people who celebrate your growth rather than resent it. You are capable of building connections that inspire you to reach for your highest potential rather than settling for your lowest common denominator. But you have to be willing to let go of what's not working to make room for what will work. This isn't about being perfect or finding perfect people. Perfect doesn't exist. This is about being intentional about who you allow into your inner circle. This is about understanding that your energy is sacred and your time is finite, and both should be invested in people and situations that generate a positive return. This is about recognizing that you teach people how to treat you by what you accept. And if you keep accepting less than you deserve, that's exactly what you'll keep receiving. The person you're becoming deserves better than the relationships you're holding on to from who you used to be. The future version of yourself that you're growing into cannot coexist with the dynamics that kept the old version of yourself small. You cannot expand into your full potential while remaining contracted around people who need you to stay small so they can feel comfortable with their own limitation. I see you trying to be the exception to the rule. I see you believing that your love is so powerful it can change someone who doesn't want to change. I see you thinking that if you just try harder, communicate better, or love more deeply, you can transform a relationship that was built on a foundation of disrespect, inconsistency, or manipulation. But love is not about fixing people. Love is about finding people who are already committed to fixing themselves, people who are already on a growth path, people who are already choosing to become the best version of themselves. You cannot love someone into loving you the way you deserve to be loved. You cannot communicate your way into a healthy relationship with someone who is committed to unhealthy patterns. You cannot sacrifice your way into someone's appreciation. You cannot shrink yourself small enough to make someone else comfortable with their own lack of growth. The right people for you will love you because of who you are. They will appreciate your standards because they have standards too. They will respect your boundaries because they understand the importance of healthy boundaries. When you truly understand your worth, you stop trying to convince other people of your value. When you truly know what you deserve, you stop settling for less than that. When you truly trust your intuition, you stop second-guessing yourself when people show you who they are. When you truly commit to your growth, you stop allowing people to pull you back into versions of yourself that you've outgrown. The old relationships in your life served a purpose. They taught you lessons you needed to learn. They showed you what you don't want so you could get clear about what you do want. They helped you develop discernment, strength, and the ability to recognize your own worth. But now that you've learned those lessons, now that you've developed those qualities, now that you've grown beyond who you were when those relationships began, it's time to honor that growth by choosing relationships that match your new level of consciousness. This is not about being bitter, resentful, or closed off to love. This is about being selective, intentional, and protective of the energy you've worked so hard to cultivate. This is about understanding that not everyone deserves access to the masterpiece you're becoming. This is about recognizing that some doors are meant to stay closed so that better doors can open. I want to talk to you about the addiction to potential. So many people get trapped in relationships not because of what is, but because of what could be. They fall in love with someone's potential rather than their reality. They see glimpses of who someone could become and invest years of their life waiting for that person to show up consistently. They make excuses for present behavior based on future possibilities that may never materialize. But here's what you need to understand about potential. Potential without consistent action is just manipulation. When someone shows you flashes of their best self but can't sustain that energy, they're not struggling with consistency. They're showing you that their best self is not their authentic self. Their best self is a performance they put on when they need to secure your attention, your forgiveness, or your investment. Their authentic self is who they are when they think no one is watching, when they're comfortable, when they don't think they need to try. You cannot build a stable relationship on someone's potential. You cannot create a secure future with someone's promises. You cannot find peace with someone's good intentions. You can only build something real with someone's consistent actions, authentic character, and demonstrated commitment to growth. Everything else is fantasy, and fantasy relationships will leave you feeling empty no matter how much energy you pour into them. I've watched so many people waste their most beautiful years waiting for someone to become who they claimed they wanted to be. I've seen brilliant, talented, loving people put their own dreams on hold while they try to love someone into loving themselves. I've witnessed amazing humans accept crumbs of affection from people who should have been grateful to have access to such magnificence. You are not a rehabilitation center for broken people. You are not a therapist for people who refuse to do their own healing work. You are not a life coach for people who are not committed to changing their lives. You are not a bank for people who are emotionally, energetically, or financially bankrupt. You are a complete, whole, valuable human being who deserves to be in relationships with other complete, whole, valuable human beings. The right relationships will not require you to be a savior, a teacher, or a parent to another adult. The right relationships will be partnerships where both people are committed to their own growth and to supporting each other's evolution. The right relationships will challenge you to become better while accepting you exactly as you are. The right relationships will feel like addition, not subtraction. They will feel like expansion, not contraction. They will feel like freedom, not imprisonment. But you have to be willing to close the door on the wrong relationships to make space for the right ones. You have to be willing to trust that there is something better available to you than what you've accepted in the past. You have to be willing to bet on yourself, on your worth, on your ability to attract and maintain healthy connections with people who are operating at your level of consciousness. This requires courage. It requires you to face the fear that maybe you won't find better. It requires you to sit with temporary loneliness rather than accepting permanent dissatisfaction. It requires you to trust in your own resilience, your own worthiness, your own magnetic ability to attract what you truly desire when you're clear about what that is and unwilling to accept anything less. I know it's scary to let go of something familiar, even when that something is hurting you. I know it feels risky to trust that the universe has better plans for you than the plans you're trying to force into existence. I know it's challenging to believe in your own worth when the people closest to you have consistently treated you as if you're worth less than you are. But I need you to remember who you are beneath all the conditioning, beneath all the programming, beneath all the messages you've received about what you should accept and what you should be grateful for. I need you to remember that you came into this world as a magnificent being worthy of love, respect, and kindness. I need you to remember that nothing anyone has ever done to you has changed that fundamental truth about who you are. You are not damaged good because someone couldn't appreciate what you offered. You are not too much because someone couldn't handle your intensity. You are not too sensitive because someone couldn't honor your feelings. You are not too difficult because someone couldn't meet your needs. You are not asking for too much because someone couldn't give you what you deserved. You are exactly who you're supposed to be, and the right people will recognize that immediately. The people who are meant to be in your life will not make you question your worth. They will not make you wonder where you stand. They will not make you feel like you have to earn their love, attention, or respect. They will not make you feel grateful for basic human decency. They will not make you feel like you're asking for too much when you ask to be treated well. The people who are meant to be in your life will make you feel more like yourself, not less like yourself. They will inspire you to reach for your dreams, not convince you to lower your expectations. They will celebrate your growth, not resent it. They will support your boundaries, not test them. They will add value to your life consistently, not drain your energy regularly. But you will never encounter these people if you keep your life full of the wrong people. You will never have space for the relationships you deserve if you keep clinging to the relationships you've outgrown. You will never experience the love you're capable of receiving if you keep accepting the love you've settled for in the past.